Hi, everyone, and welcome to 3 Unconventional Ways to Keep You Safe. I'm Jamie Bates, and today I'm going to talk to you about, I'll say, unconventional ways to really keep you and your family safe. If you have a family, if you have children, this is something that I teach my kids. I have a daughter who is 18 years old who lives in Chicago. And so it was really uber important to me when she decided to move to Chicago, when she decided to live downtown Chicago, that, she was really safe. And so these are things that I really embed in my children on how to really keep you safe. I come from this line of metaphysics. I think probably most of us do. And, forever, for most of my younger career, I used to teach, you got to protect yourself, right? You got to put your bubble up. You got to keep yourself, this bubble on so no one bothers you, no one touches you, no one harms you, all of that good stuff. But what is actually true for me now is what I know in the place I'm in right now is when we actually protect ourselves from people, what we're actually doing is we are actually creating a barrier between the people and us, right? I mean, that's what the protection would be doing. It'd be creating a barrier. But what that barrier actually does is it prevents you from actually receiving information from the people that you're around. So if you put your bubble on, right? And you, let's say like someone like my daughter who lives in Chicago, Illinois, right? And she goes outside and she's got her bubble on. And she is essentially has a barrier up to everyone and everything that's going on around her. Now, that doesn't mean that the people around her can't see her. That doesn't mean that, no one can come into contact with her. It just means essentially that she is not necessarily in her awareness when they come to her, when they come, at her. She is kind of shielding herself from them, and it's like it creates this unawareness of where people are at and what they're capable of. And so, for me, it's like, okay, you want to learn how to actually be aware of everyone around you. If I'm going somewhere, or if I'm at the mall, or if I'm at the coffee shop, and someone walks in there and they are there to do harm, I want to know. I don't want to block myself from that information. I don't want to resist that information, because the thing is we all vibrate at a level where we are telling the universe what we are doing. Every single one of us, okay? So if someone is carrying, let's say, some guns, and they have their guns concealed, right, and they're walking down the road, they're going to have a certain energy that they're going to be emitting, because they are out to do harm, okay, right? They're going to be emitting this energy. And as an aware person, when I have no barriers up, when I am completely aware of what's going on around me, I'm going to be aware when someone walks into somewhere where I'm at and they are there to shoot up the place. And I use this example because I know in the US here we are dealing with a lot of these mass situations. And I want everyone to know that being scared of it and fighting against it is not the way. Being aware of it is the way, okay? Because most of these events that happen in our world don't happen overnight. It's not like, and we see reports and we see, information about this, and even at the last big shooting that we just had, I mean, they talk about, that school day had already been really weird for those kids. There had already kind of been a lot of these crisis drills. And I know that all schools are kind of going through these different things right now, but I'm going to tell you right now that that was not something that was created within an hour. There was information that was going into that school that was getting ready to happen for quite a while. And I know that it's kind of hard to see that in the grand scheme of things, but when you start to be aware, you start to see the signs of when something is preparing for something different. If you look at any mass casualty or any big event that has happened, people will tell you that they were preparing for it for a while. Even when we had that incident in Paris last year, I watched a ton of interviews from that, and people were preparing for that for quite a while. Okay, and if you start kind of paying attention to that, you will start to feel that lingo in the things that you see with these big tragedies that we're having around the world right now. Nothing is happening unexpectedly, okay? There are signs and there are things that the universe is trying to kind of get out into the open that are being ignored because we are so busy protecting ourselves and protecting our children and protecting our lives and protecting everything that we have from bad that we're not actually receiving the information. We're not actually receiving the signs of what is actually being created. And so today, I want to invite you into that space where you can see that you truly, really can have awareness of when things are coming if you're in the space to receive it. So my number one secret, or my number one way, my unconventional way, is to make sure that you're always staying expanded. Okay, you're not staying contracted. When you're in expansion, you're truly like a living, what's the word I'm looking for? You're a living receiver. I mean, that's what our body is. Our body is a receiving organ. It's receiving information all of the time, okay? Once you kind of put your barriers up, you actually stop yourself from receiving information, you close everything down, and you become this contraction of upset, okay? When you expand and when you stay expanded, what you actually do is you start actually being the flow with information. Okay, so how expanding works is we're not going to expand our body. Okay, we're going to expand our energy, space, and consciousness, which is who we be, so who we truly are. Okay, we have a body, right? And then we have who we are, and oftentimes we've been told that like who we are is within our body, when in all actuality, who we are is outside of our body, and our body is within who we are. Okay, so when you expand who you are, you kind of expand the metapixels of your being, okay? And as you expand those metapixels larger and larger and larger, what I find actually ends up happening is most people can't even see me. Okay, which I think is an interesting twist, because when we're protecting ourselves, right, we feel like we're protecting ourselves from people and people aren't going to see us. But what we're actually doing is we're making ourselves more contracted by protecting ourselves. Now, if you know someone, or if you've even been someone who's in anger or upset or rage, right, you feel really like small and contracted when you're in anger and upset and rage, right? So if you think about that in terms like that, if someone is getting ready to, let's say, go somewhere and do like bodily harm to someone, are they in space and expansion and what's the word I'm looking for? Like just like lightness, or are they in contraction and heaviness and smallness? Right? They're going to be in the smallness, right? So if you, as a being, have your metapixels on extra large, right, and or even I'll say mega large, or even bigger than that, right? I don't know what's a bigger word there. But if you have your metapixels really, really, really large, if someone is contracted and small and upset, they're going to go right through you. They're not gonna seek you out and find you, because you're so big. They're not even going to see you. How many of you here have ever heard that story about when Christopher Columbus came to America on the ships? And the Indians were on the land, right? And there's a story I read at some point where it talked about the shamans were warning the Indians that, there's these big things coming, because they didn't know what a ship was, right? They'd never actually seen a ship. And so they were warning the people, there's these things, they're floating at us in the ocean, and nobody could see it. Nobody could actually see it because it was so far beyond what they knew was possible, what they knew to be true, that they actually truly had no awareness that those ships were coming at the shore. And they actually say that it took the Indians like 2 to 3 days of the people actually being landed on the shore, the pilgrims being landed on the shore, before they could actually even see them. Because, and I'm not saying that the Indians were completely unaware, but it was so far beyond what they thought was a possibility. They had never seen a ship before. They had never, experienced this type of even person before, right? And so it was like so far beyond what they could see. And that kind of is what happens when we stay contracted. There's a whole world out here of people and places and things that when we stay contracted, we literally cannot see. And I'm going to use that example, like if you're scared of, or if you're really, let's say, upset about someone who abuses animals, which I get. We all we all have that soft spot for our animals. None of us want to see an animal get abused, right? But if we start protecting everything and all of the animals and all of the people and all of the everything from people who would abuse animals, it becomes the same concept. When someone is willing to abuse animals, you literally can't see it because you have shut yourself off from so much of that information. You can't actually receive it. When someone is standing right in front of you that is a Class A animal abuser, you can't even see them because you have decided that you don't want to receive that information. Does that make sense? Anybody that has their audio on? I hope so. So,
yes, it does.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you for answering.
I was concentrating on what you were saying. But I have heard that Columbus story before, and I have actually experienced that same thing myself. That you only see what you want to see sometimes.
Yes, awesome. That totally gave me the chills. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it does. It does. It's like we have this filter to information that we have decided we don't want to know about. And it's literally stopping us from actually knowing what's going on in our world. It's literally stopping us dead in our tracks. And if we truly want to become the aware, and we want to stop things like mass shootings from happening, we have to become aware of all of the parts and pieces that create that cycle from actually being perpetrated. We can't resist the information. We can't protect ourselves from it. We have to start receiving it on an amazing grand scale. So when someone is capable of doing that, we know. And not only that, but we can go to that young person and we can help them change what's going on for them so they can actually get out of that cycle. The resistance for me is the thing that actually keeps that stuff getting perpetrated. Yeah. And that's kind of like a whole nother subject, but it's like when you start dynamically resisting information, it creates it's just like a magnet. A magnet attracts like, right? So if you're resisting the information, there's got to be something on the other side pushing up against it. And that's actually what's creating the energy from it continuing to exist in this world. So going back to my secret number, or my sharing number one is really, really, really getting used to staying expanded, okay? We want to make ourselves so big that everything is passing through us. And like I said, it's like I've learned, I've been working with expanding for the past, I don't know, probably 3 years, and I've learned that people don't even see me, and not in a bad way, but in a good way. Like people that are contracted and grouchy and are walking through the grocery store all mad, like they just pass right by me. And the people who are sunshiny and happy and like smiley and hi, how are you today? Like I run into those people now. Where in the past, when I used to protect myself all the time, it was like I was continually getting inundated with people that I felt were grouchy and upset and mad. And it's interesting because as I've made these switches, I used to live in this world where I always went through the cashier that was grouchy. I always went through the one that was the slowest. I always, it didn't matter where I went. It was like I was always kind of in that zone of being in the space where whoever was waiting on me was in upset. And it was like, man, like, what is that? Like, I can remember, my kids, when they were younger, they always used to say, it doesn't matter what restaurant we go to, we're going to sit in the section where the server's going to forget about us, and we're going to get our food cold. And it was like, once I started actually staying expanded, what we ended up actually doing was we always ended up sitting in the section where the server was pleasant and she was, there to wait on us and really created a completely different experience. I mean, in my whole entire life, it's really changed everything for me. So let's just go ahead and put our barriers down. This is how we expand out. We're just going to put our barriers down. We want to, all these barriers we have up to all of this information, we want to put all of those down, put our barriers down, our barriers down, our barriers down, our barriers down. And what we want to do is we want to expand out. Now we're just expanding out our being, right? Not our body. And our being is, outside of our body, not within. So if your being is within your body, we're going to actually take it all the way out. And we're going to make yourself as big as the state that you're in. And you're going to go all the way out, as long as the state, as deep as the state, and as high as the state is wide. High as the state is wide. So you're going to make yourself as big as the state that you're in. And then expand out as big as the country that you're in. So all the way out, and all the way down, and all the way up. And go ahead and make yourself as big as the planet that we're all on. We're all on the same planet. So when we go as big as the planet, we're just going to go all the way through the planet, encompassing the whole planet, being one with everyone and everything. And right there, being one with everyone and everything, all of a sudden, we know everything. And I can feel us like, oh, no, I don't want to know that. I don't want to know that. I don't want to know that. That's all that information in there that you've been resisting. Okay? And let's go ahead and expand out as big as the universe. All the way out, all the way out, all the way out. And the multiverse, multiple universes. And times that by a million. 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 All the way out to the space of who you be. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. As the infinite being that you be. Awesome. And here, you really should kind of feel like you're more space. Like there should feel like that you have more space in your body, more space in your being. Now, I would like to say, because I feel like maybe not all of us are completely 100% all the way expanded out, is, where do we want to go with that? It's kind of like, looking at, how big this universe is, right? So when we look at all of the universes that exist out there, there's a lot of universes. Yeah, we're going to go, there we go. That actually changed it a little bit. More. The universes actually are. There you go. Awesome. So we're gonna stay in that bigness of who we are. Now, this is something that takes kind of a lot of practice if you've never done it before. But the thing about this is the more you do it, the easier it becomes, and the more space you become. And the more space you become, it's like the more ease you have in your transactions during the day, the more ease you have I mean, really throughout your whole life when you're more space instead of less space. Okay. So my number two unconventional way to keep you safe is learn to receive from everyone in everything. Okay, everyone and everything. Again, I go back to that example of, you want to receive from the person who is capable of doing animal abuse. You want to receive from them, okay? Because you want to receive from them because you want to know if they come into your neighborhood, if they move in next door, okay? And they have been kicking their dogs for, 25 years. You want to know that, okay? Because you don't want to leave your dog with that person. Do you feel me? Like, you want to start actually pulling and receiving from everyone, everywhere you go. You want to know when people are capable of certain things. You want to know when you're in the coffee shop and somebody walks in there with a loaded rifle, right? You want to receive from them. Because when they walk in the door and you get an awareness of that, you know how to take action. Okay, when you're scared of that and you're resisting that information, you're going to become the effect of that. So you want to learn how to receive from everyone and everything. And my number three kind of goes in line with that, because my number three is acknowledge what you know. So often, and I know that you go through this because I spent my whole life this way, and I can guarantee you that you spend your life this way as well. You go places, you meet people, and you have an initial thought about that person. And your inside goes, oh, no, you're just being judgmental. You're just being ... You're just doing ... right? And then you see them again and you come up with this, oh, they're ... and before you can even get the whole sentence out about what you are aware of that person, you're already telling yourself, no, you're wrong. No, that's not true about that person. That's not that, this, that, the other, blah, 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 right? Because you as a person, as the being that you be, would never abuse animals. You would never do the things that you are encountering that other people do. And here's the thing, we live in this reality where everything exists, okay? So it's kind of naive to think that there are people in this world that wouldn't abuse children or wouldn't abuse animals or wouldn't take advantage of you or wouldn't stab you in the back, okay? Those people exist because we're playing in a very large paradigm of all kinds of different things. And if you meet someone and you instantaneously get the awareness that that person is sneaky and they would steal from me, and then you go, oh no, they're so-and-so's friend. They're kind and nice, and look at their face. They're smiling. They're beautiful. There's no way they could be capable of that. I must be wrong. No, you're not wrong. You are aware. You have been your whole entire life. And this world has taught us to not judge people. But what if none of it's actually truly judgment? What if all of it is just awareness? All of it. What if everywhere you're going, everything you're doing, you are aware, this person is capable of this, this person is capable of this, this person is capable of this. And what if by starting to actually truly acknowledge that, you are actually, and the thing is just because, let's say, someone is capable of stealing something from you doesn't mean that they're going to steal something from you. It may mean that they have stolen something in the past and they're feeling really, really guilty about stealing things, okay? And so they're holding on to this energy of like, oh, I've stolen something and everybody knows and it makes me feel all this, okay? And so when you meet them, what you're doing is you're perceiving that information, okay? And then our head goes, oh no, you're being judgmental. That's not true. Blah, 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 blah. And then you resist the information. Now, just because you resisted the information doesn't mean that this person is going to come into your life and steal something. But that means that that person is capable of stealing something. So if you know that about that person, then obviously you're not going to trust that person to, I don't know, borrow your car or come in your house and be left unattended, right? Now, it doesn't mean that you can't potentially be friends with that person. But what it means is you have to be aware of where people are operating at, okay? You have to be aware of what people are capable of. Because when you're aware of what people are capable of and you're continuously receiving information from everyone and everything, you get to decide who you're going to have in your life. You get to decide who you're going to let into your business or your home or your car or whatever, right? You know, I used to live in this paradigm where I felt like people always came into my life and took advantage of me. You know, I felt like I was kind to people, and people came in and they did things to me, and they, they would like always project back at me like I was the bad person. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? This was, I like to say in my former life, and what I realized was I knew those people were capable of doing that, but I didn't want to believe bad things about anyone, because I never would choose to do those things to someone. And how many times have you caught yourself saying, oh, I never would have known that that person was capable of that, or I never would have known that that person would do this to me? Yeah, that right there is where you're operating an unawareness around the people that you're with, okay? And when you start receiving people and you start acknowledging what you're aware of, what you start doing is you start acting in, I'll say, discernment, right? Like, okay, well, I know that that person is capable of doing this, so I can, if it's somebody that you work with, or someone that you are with, maybe they're a neighbor, maybe they're a friend of a friend. Okay, if you know what they're capable of, then you don't find yourself in a situation where you're on the end of getting burned, because you know who they are. And when you start actually acknowledging who people are, it's amazing how it changes. Because when you're resisting information, okay, and you meet someone and they're capable of doing, like taking advantage of you, let's just use that example, right? And you know that they would take advantage of you if they had 5 seconds to do it. Okay, and you stand in that, and you kind of acknowledge that. Yes, I see you. I see that you're capable of taking advantage of me, and I'm aware that I still have to interact with you. So I'm not gonna shield myself from you. I'm gonna stand in my full awareness of you are capable of doing this. When you do that, it actually creates this energy where when you see someone for who they are, they're outie. They don't even want to be around you anymore. Because they don't want to be around someone who sees who they are. They want to be around someone who is completely unconscious to who they be, because that's the person they're going to be able to take advantage of. Yeah. So it's like the more aware you become, the more you start to really see, okay, this is that, this is that, this is that, this is that. And the more you acknowledge that, it becomes a way more powerful tool than protecting or fighting against or resisting ever did. And so I have my teenager who's in Chicago. And so I'm always telling her, you start calling those people out. She takes the subway. She works at the Chicago Theater. She's got to take the subway home. And I'm telling her, when you keep your barriers down, you stay aware. And when you see people, you acknowledge them. I know you pick people's pockets. I know that you're capable of stealing. I know that, like, you call them out and you walk with your head high through there. Okay, you don't scour and protect yourself from those people. You let them know that you know who they are, and you pull from them so hard that it essentially becomes a place where they fall right on their face when they even get close to her, because she is pulling and receiving from them so hard that they don't want anything to do with her. And that is how you keep your kids safe. And it changes everything. Yeah. So does anybody have any questions about that? Does somebody feel like they have something they want to add or something that they want to say? Anyone? maybe not. So if what I'm talking about is something that you would really like to learn, what you would like to really start standing in, what you would like to really, really know, I have an offer. I am just getting into doing more group stuff. And I have this group, and it's going to be centered around teaching you how to be aware, essentially. It's really dissolving all of these things that stop us from being aware. And I want to kind of just kind of read a list here real quick. So the things that really stop you from being aware is anxiety, right? When you have anxiety about your future, about what's going on in your life, you're resisting information. You're not aware, you're not willing to be aware of something that's going on around you. If you find yourself worried all the time, again, that's because you're resisting information. You're not standing in what you truly know. If you're feeling overwhelmed with life, okay? If you can't say no to things, even when you know something doesn't work for you, but you just can't really bring yourself to say no because you're going into all of these, oh, well, I have to because da 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 da, right? We have 8,000 justifications for why we have to choose something that we don't want to choose. If you're ready to stop choosing things that you don't want to choose, if you're ready to know, like, okay, I'm going to choose this, what's it going to create in my life? You know, when you work in awareness, you start to get an energy of when, if I choose this in my future, what's it going to create in my life? You instantaneously, when you're in awareness, you instantaneously get an answer. Okay, this is going to expand me and create more for my life, or this is going to contract me and create less for my life. And when you stay in your awareness, and when you stay in this place where you're receiving from everyone and everything, remember I said everything, so that's even like future projects, that's future jobs, that's future creations. When you start receiving from your future, and you don't have this point of view that, okay, I have to do something different, because this is how we operate in this reality, right? I have to do something different. So I'm going to choose, I'm going to do this. And then we decide, we go with all of these reasons why this is going to work for us, right? And then we get in there and we go, oh, this isn't actually what I thought it was. Because we weren't working in our awareness, we were working in our expectation of what we thought it was going to be. And so when you get into this place where you're always staying expanded, and you're receiving from everyone and everything, and you're standing in what you are aware of, if you're looking at a job, you're going to get all of the aspects of that job. You're going to know what that job's going to make you feel like. You're going to know what that job's going to contribute to your life, okay? And then from that point, you get to choose, okay, does that match where I'm going? And that's a lot of what I do when we get you all the way into your awareness. It's like, okay, what do we want our lives to feel like, versus being the effect of everything that's going on around us because we're locked up and not receiving the information. We go to this place where we are continuously receiving all of the information all of the time, right? And so we know that what everything is going to create in our lives, but how to match it to what we want it to be like, okay? I want my life to be filled with joy. I want my life to be filled with ease. I want my life to be filled with, smiley, happy people all around me all of the time. So where do I need to go? What do I need to be? What do I need to do in order to create that? So we kind of are going to focus on that. And we're really going to take who we are right now, and we're going to kind of, because it's amazing how when you haven't been receiving the information that you require to receive, it's amazing how when you start receiving that information, how your life starts to dynamically change. You know, I often say in a lot of my recordings, you know, your point of view creates your reality. Your reality does not create your point of view. And that is 150,000% true. And I had somebody message me last night, and I've been working with her. She's a dear, and she's one of my clients I've had for probably, I don't know, a few years now, and now she's one of my apprentices. And she messaged me last night, and she said, you know, hey, your point of view really does create your reality. Your reality doesn't create your point of view. Like, who knew? We both kind of laughed, because it's really truly like when you change the space that you've been operating in, the energetic space of what you've been operating in, and you really, 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 truly get into the energy, space, and consciousness of what you want your life to be like, by receiving it changes everything. And it's delightful and beautiful and amazing what you can create when you're in a new space. So I have the group programs coming, and I'm offering a very, very special offer to you today. When I send out this call, it's going to have a very special offer. I'm kind of reformulating my groups and kind of making them a little more defined. And so this is kind of a newer venture, I would say, for me. And so it's like, I would love to have you join me and really, 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 like, let's get aware. Let's know what everyone and everything around us is doing and creating and being, so we get to choose how we want to proceed with our lives, instead of being the effect of everyone and everything and contributing to the upset that this world is going through right now. Because for me, it's like, if I get this image of like, where if everyone and everything could be aware of what's going on, this world would be dynamically different. And I do feel in my heart that that's where we're going. We're waking up. We're realizing that it's time to do something different. So this is my something different. And if it works for you, I would love to have you join me. And does anybody have any questions before we're done today? Anyone? No, I guess not. All right. Awesome.
I can't think of any. I've had to keep popping off because I run a shop, so I've had to go keep going and see customers, so I'll have to listen to your replay.
Okay, no problem. Thank you for joining me all the way on the other side of the world, Brenda, and the rest of you as well. Thank you so much.
Cool.
Thank you. I hope you guys have
Thank you, Jamie.
Yes, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.